You have sat across from a stranger and felt your personality rearrange itself like furniture in an empty room. Not consciously, not deliberately. But suddenly you are speaking their language, matching their cadence, reflecting their energy back to them so perfectly that they feel seen, understood, perhaps even loved. And later, when you are alone again, you cannot remember who you were before the conversation began. You reach for yourself and find only the aftertaste of whoever you just became. If you have ever been told you are a chameleon, adaptable, good with people, and felt the compliment land like an accusation, this video names what is actually happening. Welcome to Power and Myth. What others call social skill or emotional intelligence, Jung understood as something far more ancient and far more costly. This is archetypal shape-shifting, a specific psychological process where the boundaries of self become permeable in the presence of another's psychic field. The shapeshifter is one of the 7 INFJ archetypes, and if you carry this pattern, you know it is not a party trick. It is the exhausting work of translation between worlds, performed by someone who can become anyone except the one person they most need to be. You are sitting in a meeting. There is a colleague across from you, tense, guarded, the kind of person others find difficult. And without deciding to, you feel yourself shift. Your voice softens. Your body language opens. You are not pretending. You are genuinely becoming the version of yourself that this person can trust. And it works. They relax. They speak. Later, someone will say you are good with difficult people. What they do not see is what it costs you, because for 20 minutes you were not yourself. You were the shape that particular moment required. And now, alone in your car on the drive home, you are trying to remember what your actual voice sounds like when no one is listening. This is not code switching in the way that term is usually understood. Code switching is conscious adaptation across cultural or social contexts. What the INFJ Shapeshifter experiences is something deeper and less controlled. You do not choose to mirror. You absorb the other person's psychic signature, and it rearranges you from the inside. Jung called this participation mystique, the dissolution of boundaries between self and other that occurs when the unconscious takes over from the conscious ego. For most people, this happens rarely, in moments of deep intimacy or crisis. For the INFJ shapeshifter, it happens constantly. You walk into a room and you become the room. This is not code switching in the way that term is usually understood. Code switching is conscious adaptation across cultural or social contexts. What the INFJ shapeshifter experiences is something deeper and less controlled. You do not choose to mirror. You absorb the other person's psychic signature, and it rearranges you from the inside. Jung called this participation mystique, the dissolution of boundaries between self and other that occurs when the unconscious takes over from the conscious ego. For most people, this happens rarely, in moments of deep intimacy or crisis. For the INFJ shapeshifter, it happens constantly. You walk into a room and you become the room. Shapeshifter's core wound is not that others do not see you. It is that you do not see yourself. Because every time you reach inward to find yourself, you find only the last person you mirrored. There is a question the shapeshifter learns to dread. Who are you when no one is watching? Not what do you do, not what do you believe, but who are you? And the honest answer, the one that makes you feel like you are going mad, is I do not know. Because the self you experience most vividly is the self in relationship. The self in isolation feels thin, uncertain, like a half-remembered dream. You know what you become for your mother, your partner, your closest friend, and your colleagues. But you, the irreducible you that exists regardless of context, that person feels theoretical. And so you collect identities the way other people collect experiences. You try on personalities like clothes, searching for the one that fits, the one that feels like home. But nothing quite works because the shapeshifter's true form is formlessness itself. You are the translator, the bridge, the empty vessel that can hold any shape the moment requires. This is the paradox Jung spent his life exploring. Individuation, becoming who you truly are, requires a strong ego structure. But the shapeshifter's gift depends on a permeable ego structure. You cannot be both infinitely adaptable and solidly yourself, or so it seems. Here is the shadow most shapeshifters do not speak of, the disgust you sometimes feel toward your own flexibility. You watch yourself become what someone needs, and you feel complicit in your own erasure. You think, why can't I just be myself? Why must I always bend? And then the more dangerous thought, is there even a self to be, or am I just a collection of mirrors reflecting back whatever stands in front of me? This is not insecurity in the way that term is usually understood. This is ontological uncertainty, a literal questioning of whether you exist as a coherent entity or whether you are simply the sum of your relational performances. The exhaustion comes not from the work of shapeshifting itself, but from the fact that it never stops. There is no off switch. You cannot walk into a room and remain neutral. You absorb, you adjust, you become. And over time, this creates a strange kind of loneliness, not the loneliness of being unseen, but the loneliness of never quite being there yourself. You are present for everyone except yourself. The people in your life experience you as deeply attentive, remarkably present, and uncannily perceptive, and they are right. You are all of those things. But what they do not realize is that your attention is not a choice. It is your default state. You cannot not perceive them. You cannot not shape yourself to what they need. And so whilst they feel met, you feel evacuated. This is what makes the shapeshifter one of the most misunderstood INFJ archetypes. From the outside, it looks like social mastery. From the inside, it feels like disappearing in plain sight. But here is what changes everything. The shapeshifter is not broken. You are participating in something the ancient world understood, and the modern world has forgotten. Every culture that took the inner life seriously had a place for the one who could walk between worlds. The shaman, the mediator, the psychopomp who guides souls across thresholds. You are that figure, not metaphorically. Functionally. Psyche is structured to stand at the intersection of multiple realities and translate between them. What you experience as shape-shifting, Jung identified as the transcendent function, the psychological capacity to hold opposites in tension and birth something new from their union. You do this in every conversation. You hold the other person's reality and your own reality simultaneously, and from that tension you create a third space where real meeting can happen. This is not people-pleasing, it is alchemy. But it requires something most shapeshifters have not yet claimed, the knowledge that you do have a core self. It is simply not the kind of self the modern world recognizes. The modern world wants a self that is solid, consistent, and easily summarized. The shapeshifter's self is fluid, responsive, endlessly becoming. And that is not a deficit. That is the structure of the archetype. Your true form is not a fixed thing you need to discover. It is the capacity for infinite becoming that you already are. The work is not to stop shapeshifting. The work is to shapeshift consciously, to know that you are doing it, to choose when and how and for whom, and to have a practice of return, a way of coming back to yourself after each dissolution. This is what Jung meant by individuation for the shapeshifter. Not becoming a static self, but becoming the one who knows they are shapeshifting and does it anyway because it is their gift. The moment you stop viewing your fluidity as a problem to fix and start recognizing it as the mechanism of your power, everything shifts. You are not lost. You are the guide who knows all the paths because you have walked them. You are not empty. You are spacious enough to hold what others cannot carry alone, and you are not without a self. You are simply a self that exists in relationship rather than in isolation, and there is nothing wrong with that. If you recognized yourself in this, I want to know, when did you first realize you were a shapeshifter? Was there a moment when you looked around and thought, I have become someone I do not recognize? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to continue exploring the 7 INFJ archetypes and the ancient patterns beneath modern personality, subscribe. This is power and myth. Your depth is not too much. Your fluidity is not weakness. You are the bridge between worlds, and the world needs bridges. Until next time, find your power, know your myth.